One of the most common questions I get asked in the MSP world is, Harrison, I know I need to get paid or I have to get paid, and I'm not exactly sure how to do that, or how do I send a bill out, or how do I even collect that money every single month? Well, today's video is something special and something a little different than you would normally see on this YouTube channel. I get to interview somebody from Alternative Payments. Now, full backstory, I talk about it a little bit in the show, but also I met Nick right in Nebraska. I was out there speaking in Omaha, beautiful place, and him and I hit it off. Now, I've known about alternative payments for a very, very long time, and it's just a great conversation. So kick back, relax, listen to the conversation, let me know feedback. This is the first one I'm doing. I've already recorded a second one with somebody else, but if you guys want to see more of this type of content, please leave it down in the comments down below. Other than that, if you want to check out our stuff at growth-generators.com, we would really appreciate it. There's everything from sales training, marketing training on there, to free resources that you can go grab, and it will massively impact your MSP. Love you guys as always, and I'll see you guys in the video. Hey, what is up, Nick? How you doing today?
I'm doing well, Harrison. Pleasure to see you, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, man, doing good. Our time back in Omaha, years and years ago. Um, so Nick, take a second, tell everyone who you are, what you do, how you got here, because I think I will say it is a pretty funny story. We joke about Omaha, but it was a good time. And then we'll dive into the meat and potatoes of today.
Certainly, certainly. Yeah, so my name is Nicholas. I'm the partnerships manager at Alternative Payments. For those who aren't familiar with us, we have a really big name in the MSP space. We do accounts receivable and payment processing. My journey to this position is kind of unique. I actually have a kind of small business background from when I was younger. I had a bouncy castle rental business in high school that I
Nice.
started with my dad, which was kind of funny. Something that we talked about in Nebraska quite a bit, as Harrison has his own kind of unique entrepreneurial journey. And I'm sure many of the MSPs that you kind of work and support do as well.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I learned all my sales skills kind of in that process of building this business from scratch. And then when I graduated high school, I decided to kind of do a DIY MBA and just take the business on kind of full throttle. We turned it into a more broader event rental business
Mm.
and started getting involved in tents and tables and chairs. I started traveling to China to do factory visits and kind of all these cool different things. And eventually that led me into the tech space and then into this role here where I kind of get to take all that stuff I learned in high school around kind of building meaningful relationships with people and long-term partnerships and take that now into the work we do with MSPs and our partners like Harrison and growth generators and kind of stuff like that.
So, and it's been pretty cool. So I met Nick. I was speaking at the Millionaire Mindset by James Keegan. I hope I'm saying his last name right. But he invited me down to speak in Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm friends with Baxter, the one of the founders of Alternative Payments. And he's like, "Hey, I'm not going to Nebraska." And I was chatting it up with him. He's like, I'm sending." Do you go by Nick or Nicholas, by the way?
Nicholas is the preference, but
All right.
I'm not strict on it, so don't
Because he
stress.
said, I'm fairly sure he said Nick, but he's like, "Hey, my boy Nicholas is going. You're gonna love him." And I was like, "All right, that sounds good." Right. And I was like, and then it was funny. So I snuck in a little late on day one because I was traveling and I wasn't speaking on the first day. And I dropped my stuff off, went there, and I sat down at the table, and I could absolutely tell there was zero prep on like who I was. And like he's the only like person I think is friendly in the room. I mean, everyone was friendly in the room, but I was like, all right, maybe he got a brief of like, hey, it's gonna be this bald guy there. He's gonna be loud and obnoxious. Go say hi to him, right? Whatever it was. And I sat down with Nicholas, and it was pretty funny because it definitely took you a few minutes to realize, like, oh, okay, now I know who you are. So there was prep. It was I snuck in like in the middle of somebody speaking, and I wanted to be super quiet and all that. And but it was a good time. It was a really good group of people. I was super fortunate enough to be invited to speak, and then that's really where Nicholas and I met. And I had known about, and I've gotten demos. I have, like I said, I'm friends with Baxter, one of the founders. I have a demo account that I've played around with. And I knew who Alternative Payments was, and I've met you guys originally at ScaleCon, and I've just been a big fan. I've been a big fan the whole time. I think the platform's super clean. Everyone I met at the company has been top tier. And then Nicholas was like, "Hey, let's do a YouTube video," and I was like, "You know what? Let's do a YouTube video. That sounds like fun because him and I got to hang out for a couple days and get to meet each other. And I'm still upset that you didn't stay one more day, but you know what? I'll let it slide.
Yeah, well, I'm in a tricky situation. I live in Canada on the West Coast, so it's a bit of a journey for me, and my flight options were very limited. I find it very funny how Harrison has told that story because he has omitted so many details and has definitely done it to his style to make him look good. The reality of it is that this guy shows up late, rolls right up to my table, starts talking to me while someone else is presenting, and then I get devil eyes from a lady. She goes, "Gentlemen, someone is speaking right now."
To
And
be
here
fair, we
I am.
instantly
I'm like,
clicked.
Harrison, I'm not part of this. Like, I need to like be on the good books with these folks. These are my customers. What are you doing to me?
It
But
was
no,
it was
it
it
was
was
great.
quite funny. It was a good. It really was. It was a good group of people. We did instantly click. I did. I will say I did show up a little late. I did fly in that day. It was a planned late attendance. It wasn't like anything bad happened. I was like, yeah, I didn't plan on sitting there all day. But
and
so
you
that's how this whole thing came to be.
and then you ended up doing a really great kind of talk, probably one of the best ones at the event.
Oh,
Um,
thanks, man.
really great modern talk. Some folks from the crowd jumped in and asked how you were different from a very popular lady who's well known in the sales space of MSPs, who I won't name. And the response was really well done, and it really spoke to kind of like just the unique community that you're building. And yeah, it's cool. I'm excited to learn more about MSP heroes and get roasted in the chat and things like that. So
Get her. No, we don't roast anybody. Um, where it's a good bunch of people. So that's how we know each other. And then I actually, so him and I have been speaking, and I was like, and then now they've officially launched their affiliate program. So you can bet that I signed up to be an affiliate. So if there for shameless plug for myself, there is an affiliate link down below for alternative payments. So if you go there and you see this, you can then let everyone know that hey, you came because of the bald guy, the fluffier version of Mr. Clean. Um,
And
but
I'll jump in. I'll jump in and note here. Not only is Harrison, part of our new affiliate program and a partner of ours, but he's also going to be using us as his payment processing provider.
100%.
That's a big kind of note to make, which is like our partnerships are really should be done and are often made with people that are using our product because those are the people that actually can speak to our value. And so, that's exactly the setup that we've got with Harrison. And, we're happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. And, talk about how exactly all that kind of stuff works.
Yeah, man. And I gotta say, like, I mean, I know my onboarding call was today, and I've seen the program, so it's not anything alien to me. But the wildly smooth onboarding process. I definitely think you guys have it nailed down. I think I had a slightly unfair advantage because I have seen the program, the software several times over at this point. But it's nice to see somebody take a company, right? Nick actually didn't even do my onboarding; it was somebody else. But it was nice to see a company take onboarding so seriously. I think a lot of times, and even myself, right? I can look in. We're actually redoing our onboarding process to make MSP Heroes even better. But um, it was nice to have the hand holding of step one, step two, step three, step four, and then it's kind of the old rotisserie chicken in that thing, set it and forget it. You really only have to set it up once, and I think it makes life a lot easier, and then the benefits ensue. So you're gonna get Nick will speak to this, but it feels nice, and it wasn't. Granted, I did know who alternative payments is, and this is not like a let's just plug alternative payments the whole time, but I feel like a lot of times there's one specific company out there that may or may not own a bunch of other companies, but they like ram things down your throat. And there's other companies too that are definitely a bit more like very aggressive with sales, and I don't think really take the time to hear and learn and all that. And this is not feedback from me, but this is feedback from my community of people that have already joined. I almost said subscribed. Are they considered subscribers to you guys?
Oh, it's a subscription model.
Yeah,
So
paying
I
customers.
mean, we kind of think of our customers as partners. That's the term we use, but that's just kind of sales
So
talk.
I have clients of mine that are partners of alternative payments, and the feedback across the board has been fantastic. So um, kudos to you. I know you're the head of the partner program, so you tee off a lot of this, and you're relatively new-ish in your role, and it's obviously you've exceeded, I think, everyone's expectations and continue to impress people.
Yeah, thank you, Harrison. I really appreciate it. That's very kind of you to say. You speak a lot about kind of just how smooth the CX experience has been. Interestingly, when I was looking at this company and looking about whether I wanted to join, that was a big kind of thing for me. I wanted to know if they had an outsourced CX that was impossible to get a hold of and had, like 12-hour turnarounds on emails. And the feedback I got was, no, 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 we are very focused on providing like a really high degree of quick and prompt CX. And this is one of our easiest distinguishable competitive advantages over our competitors in the space is we can say, with clarity, here's our response times. Here's the tenure of the people who are on that team. Here's what this onboarding experience is going to be like. And I'll make like a little example. I'll be very careful not to say names because I think it's kind of inappropriate and doesn't look well. But in one of my first jobs as a salesperson on the team, I reached out to a guy who had a pretty large MSP. He was doing, I think, 10 million a year. And I called him at the same moment he was supposed to be on a call with a competitive payment processor to do his onboarding. And so he was there with his CFO. They were all ready. They were at their scheduled appointment. They had showed up and done all the documentation and they got no showed. And so my call just happened to come at the right moment. And he said, you know what? I think actually we might be interested in looking at some of the other options. And so we got him onto a call the next day and we had his onboarding happening the next week and he did his first payment not too many weeks after that. And so like that's an example of just like how we want to be seen in the marketplace and the kind of the
Dude,
reputation.
that's a crazy story.
Yeah, it's like
Uh,
the power of a good cold call at the right moment.
so it's funny you mentioned that because one of the most common questions that I get, especially on like our discovery calls, right? Seeing if we're a good fit for them and if they're a good fit for us, right? Is um how do I do MSP marketing good, or what can I do to differentiate myself? Um, and I would argue to say like 100 out of 100 times, the bar is so incredibly low. Like prime example, right? Now you lucked out, you called, you happen to be on the meeting and that company no showed. But like it really bamboozles me how horrible of an experience most customers get across the board, right? And then to even narrow it down, even when because it's a predominantly MSP watched YouTube channel, but the bar is so incredibly low that people like I made a reference to it. It's literally a toothpick laying on the ground. You would have to try to trip over it, and that is the level in which people are competing. So when I hear people, they're like, "Oh, I can't grow my MSP," "Oh, I'm struggling with this," and I get it. Like understanding sales is not easy, and understanding the marketing is not easy, and this channel is full of stuff, full of content to teach you and guide you completely for free. And then if you want to take it further and join our membership, then great, right? But the bar is that low. Like just showing up is 90% of the work. Creating a little bit, just having that marginally better experience is going to set you light years ahead of your competition. It doesn't have to be software. This is for MSPs, but and it's crazy that I'm even hearing this story because I have a pretty good idea of who it is. But like that's the level of like what people have. I don't want to say come to expect, but that's like the level of numbness where they're like, oh, okay, there was a no show, right? And don't get me wrong, we're all human, right? Things happen. Sometimes a call runs late or whatever it is, and I have to send a message, hey, I'm running a few minutes late, and I think that that's perfectly acceptable. Things happen, right? And emergencies happen too, but like that's just crazy. Like, and to not even go the not even the mile, the first step of saying, hey, I double booked or whatever it is, something happened. Can we push it back an hour, something like that? And for them to not even do that, in my opinion, is it just goes to show you that like if you really want to grow a successful business in today's day and age, it's not that challenging. It's not as challenging as most people make it out to be. It's not easy, but there's never been an easier time to run an MSP. And then you get tools like alternative to payments to process your stuff. You get tools like SuperOps or Atera for your RMM and PSA tool, right? You use probably go high level, hopefully, with you as your CRM, right? Like it's never been easier to build a business and all of these companies rooting for you and building systems to make your life easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the opportunity to learn, whether it's being part of peer groups like you or taking advantage of free content like YouTube and blog posts, is so high and is like I never had any of this stuff available to me when I was starting my little business in high school. I used to read biographies of famous business people, a bunch of white men mostly, and then I would try to translate certain things, but it was kind of a joke, really.
Sure.
Whereas now, like, I saw your video recently about our system and I was like, wow, that's a better pitch than I've made, and Harrison didn't even necessarily use our system at the time. And so, like, there's just so much resources out there. And I totally agree with what you're saying about this concept of like it's a customer first perspective that really delivers results today. And I think it's the one competitive advantage that small operators can always have over big operators is they can always prioritize that in a way that the big guys really struggle to. And you can use that to get your foot in the door and really grow. And you want to have those long-term customers who have these really great kind of recurring revenue models. Well, you get those customers because you earn them and you kind of win them over with excellent customer service. In the sales game and kind of the work that I've done, the two things that have really helped me stand out for folks that in that process is one, I really bring my genuine self to the phone call. I'm nice guy Nick. I'm from Canada. I'll apologize for the mistakes I made. I'm going to tell you an honest take about why I think this will be helpful to you, and then we can have a conversation and see if it's actually a good fit. And I bring that approach to every single cold call and email and interaction I have. And it's been really successful because people see the human being on the other side of it, and that's what they want to interact with. The second part of it is that when I make mistakes, I'm very quick to own up to it and use it as an opportunity to build genuine trust. I just had an example recently where I misunderstood one of our features related to collections, and I spoke to a long-term partner of ours who's known us for many years, and I totally bungled it up. And I've spent the last 2 weeks kind of chasing him down while he's been on vacation to finally get him on the phone this morning and just say, hey, so and so, I am so sorry about that mistake I made. Like that's not a reflection of how I want to be seen in the marketplace. I'm really sorry about that, and I wanted to tell you that directly. I'm sure that I could have just let it slide under and he wouldn't have thought too much of it, but taking that opportunity to own up to it just made that much more of a meaningful relationship in my eyes.
A thousand percent. And like that might be the rare case where you really have to track somebody down, but I feel like most of the time it's so much easier than that. It's
Yeah, I mean,
so much easier than that.
it's summer in North America.
Yeah. Trust me, I feel it. Views low. Not in any bad way. Just I don't blame him. I want to be at the beach. I was just at the beach, right?
Are you Americans still sobering up from July 4th?
No, no, those festivities only last a couple days, but no, we I took a real vacation. I do two types of vacations. I do a vacation where I unplug mostly, and then I take a vacation where I unplug completely. This was a vacation that I unplug mostly. We do travel a good bit. My wife and I are enjoy traveling. Typically places that we could drive to, and then I'll take a computer with me to do work when when we're not doing anything because she's a napper, and I can't for the life of me nap. That is such a foreign concept to me. Um, so I'll sit there and do some kind of work or just catch up on some emails if we're just hanging out and relaxing. And then when we're out, when we're traveling and looking at things, we're traveling and looking at things. But this one was one of those ones where I'm like, okay, we're doing a bare minimum like next 4 days, and it was great. I jumped on the Hero live calls because we do office hours every Monday through Friday, and then the rest of the time I was like, we're not making content, we're not doing anything, which is why there's been a this will probably be up fairly shortly after it's being recorded. So it'll be I do enjoy taking some time off, and I did record a video while I was there. I bring my camera everywhere just in case, but um it's nice to just unplug and reset. And even though you're on vacation, you're still thinking about business, but it's nice to just like take a nice big step back for a little while.
Of course. And good on you, man, for doing that and prioritizing that. I think it's probably hard for folks in the chat who haven't like seen Harrison in action in person, but this guy is always hustling and he's always on the phone and he's always working to kind of like answer questions for different folks in different contexts. The guy is really in it and really
I
kind of
appreciate that.
committed to building this community out. I think it's really cool. I was surprised when I got a better understanding of this MSP network, just how big, these peer groups and these kind of community groups were. because in other industries I've been a part of, I didn't really know my other competitors or I didn't really know other people in the space. It wasn't a big part of it. I kind of was on my own. But I see the value in the MSP space to being a part of these communities and going to these conventions and kind of making these relationships because the problems are so common across the board. And getting that feedback about how that person made a mistake and was able to fix it this way and saving you from making the same mistake, it's crazy, like crazy how valuable that is. Like it's basically hard to put dollars and cents to it because it's that valuable.
Yeah. And I think too, I think a lot of people underestimate like I think a lot of people overcomplicate simple problems. You see that a lot? By chance, I'm curious.
Yeah, well, we see it in the MSP space where, and I'm going to be making some generalizations here, which is dangerous, but the kinds of people who are really interested in starting an MSP and who will have a high likelihood of being successful are not necessarily likely to be the kinds of guys who want to spend a bunch of time in their books. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
these are people who have a really techie background, they're incredibly intelligent often, and they love solving complex problems. Like the trickier the problem, the more excited they get. And they don't really love going into QuickBooks and dealing with a bunch of outstanding invoices. And they certainly don't love chasing people down to pay them. They're way more interested in the solving problems part. And it's an interesting dynamic because it obviously creates these holes over time where they struggle to grow up past a certain point because none of their systems are automated or properly fleshed out. And
Sure.
it becomes this like tidal wave of work they don't actually want to do. And then they start questioning whether they want to be doing that industry, even though they do, they just don't want to do the certain types of work within it.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. Um, I could definitely see that for sure. I think a lot of people, I mean, to be fair, I remember talking to one of my older mentors and we were chatting about, um, he's like, the one thing I absolutely hate doing is billing and tracking down people for money. He's like, it is my by far least favorite thing to do. I'm like, who hates billing? Like, getting paid sounds amazing. Like there's nothing better in my opinion. And then I remember like starting out when I was very green in business and I was like I love sending invoices. I love sending bills. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get all this money. And then I realized like a year in or so, and I was like, this sucks. Like I hate asking people for money. I love doing sales, but like I hate the like collection of money and then staying on top excuse me, staying on top of people to pay and all of these like minuscule things. And it's funny, like I kick myself in the butt because I'm like, how much easier would it have been if I just found out about a company like alternative payments when I first started? Like truthfully, like I'm not even saying that because you're on the call, but like if there really was a system that existed where and I'm sure that they did. I was so green in business that I didn't know to look for these things. I didn't even think to ask for these things. ChatGPT wasn't the thing, so I couldn't ask like, oh, what systems are people using to like collect payments, or how do you make collecting payments easier, right? And now I look back at myself, I'm like, I probably, and I shouldn't say probably, I know I've left enough money to make most people throw up, right? uh from it, and it's just part of the process, right? It is what it is. But and now I look at it, I'm like, most, MSPs are kind of lucky because they have very high profitability or high profit clients and they're billing every single month, and you kind of have a higher position of power because you can take down the whole system if you want to do. Definitely
Mhm.
not condoning that, but there's like another level of respect. You're very high on the totem pole of important people typically for businesses because if you're not there, you're not making money, or you're not allowing that person to work the way that they want to work. Um, and that to me, and then if they do grow, there's only a handful of clients. It does make it easier, but at some point or another, billing. I don't know a single MSP business owner, and I've worked with everybody from one person to five plus. Actually, I've had great conversations with 15+ million-dollar MSPs, and even former clients of mine, and even former companies of mine that I've worked at that I don't advertise or mention. They had those problems, and they've sold for tens and tens of millions of dollars, right? So across the board, billing and the finance aspect has always been a problem. And it's funny because even then I still think that in the MSP world, we know, we all know the sexy term of the RMM, the PSA tool. But I think the things that get slept on are truly the things that just make our lives a lot easier that
Mhm.
people don't know to look for.
Yeah, I mean, I see it at the conferences, right? Like the booths that are the coolest ones to visit are these like new like automation expert kind of tools where it's like, hey, let's build these super complicated workflows where we'll pull in this API and we'll pull in this and then we'll create this from that and then it'll automate this. And I see them and I go, oh, I that looks cool. I want to go check that out. It's a bit of a harder sell to say, hey, you know how right now you deal with like a lot of checks and they get mailed at totally different rates and like your cash flow is just a complete mess? Like what if I could solve that for you? Like most people's initial
But that's
reaction,
not a sexy thing, right? It's
it's
not the
not
new
as sexy.
AI.
It's not as sexy, but at the same time, it's probably the number one thing limiting them from growth.
Oh,
I mean,
I would very much agree with you. And
yeah,
I think it's crazy to me that everyone's so gung ho on the shine. I get it.
and
I'm a
if we were to just focus on cash flow, which is just one piece of the pie, right? Like if you're struggling to get paid and have a lot of collections, that's a problem. But say that's not even a problem. Say you have all your customers and they pay their bill, but they pay in an inefficient manner and your processing kind of process is really archaic and old. If your cash flow is like 36 days outstanding, basically like from the invoice being created to you actually putting that money in your bank account, and you were able to take that and bring it to what our average customer is of 16 days or less, you're unlocking literally thousands of dollars of cash flow that can be used to do things that you wanted to do, down the line today. And so like the version of that is like if you're doing a couple $1 million and you're able to unlock that cash flow, all of a sudden you've got the money to bring in a new tech now versus later. And that's not because you increase your revenue. That's just because you updated and efficientized the process of getting paid the bills that you actually have already today, which seems kind of like magic-y and not very realistic. But that's just one of the problems that's really common in the industry is just like not having a strong sense of cash flow and making it a priority to simplify.
I very much agree. I mean, just having that cash readily available, and then just knowing that, like, let's just say hypothetically, right? You miss 1 month of payments as a customer every single year, right? And it's not because you just forgot, right? You forgot to pay it. The invoice came in, it hit spam, whatever it is, right? As the MSP, right? That while it's only whatever it is, the 8% or 7% or whatever that number is of your annual revenue, right? That's gone. But now it's probably not happening. If it's happening with one client, it's probably happening with more than one client. And it just gets amplified. So now you're losing, maybe it's 10 clients, right? And maybe they're all paying you for easy numbers, let's say $1,000 a month, right? If they're all paying you $1,000 a month, that means every single month you're going to make 10 clients, $1,000 a month, $10,000 a month, which is great. But now on in December, they all forget to pay you, right? It's only 8%. How much damage did that just do to your business? That's an extra $10,000, right? Now, that's not going to make or break most businesses, but that quite literally pays for your RMM tool for the entire year, your PSA tool for the entire year, your company insurance for the entire year, your probably bonuses for employees. That pays, depending on the level of the employee, that could pay for a chunk of their paycheck, right? So to not take every opportunity to recoup that amount of money is a wild concept. And don't get me wrong, I was definitely on the we messed up certain things side of life, but I've since learned from my mistakes and built systems and things like that to help mitigate the amount of, money that goes missing. But what if the one that didn't pay you was the $4,000 a month client, right? What if it was the $10,000 a month client, right? And they were just like, you know what? I paid you every other month. Come on, can you give me a freebie or something like that? Whatever it is, right? Or you just simply forgot to invoice them, right? And then you're like, it's been several months. I don't know if I want to go chase them. That's lost revenue. And then to not have kind of a catch-all system that can auto invoice, that can auto bill to make your life easier for quite literally, and I'm not going to talk about pricing, but pennies from what you would recoup, you're crazy.
Agreed. 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 And I mean, I know we're talking a lot about kind of bigger picture things and, different use cases, but if it's a value, I can paint this kind of like gold standard vision, which, some of our customers are now working towards and is becoming the industry standard, which is when you use a really kind of helpful AR system that has those integrations into the places where this stuff is being created, your PSA, your RMM, things like that. The flow that you want with these new customers is you want to bring these customers on to a 12, 24-month agreement so that you can guarantee a recurring revenue and also be able to build that relationship through great customer service and great, different product offerings. And then when you're signing that contract for this 12, 24 months, you're inputting that into your PSA. We're pulling that into our system. And then we're setting it up an automated system to charge a given ACH bank account or credit card. And then from that point forward, for the next 12 to 24 months, nothing is required from you. You don't need to go and send out emails. We're going to do that for you. It's all going to be automated. And we're going to run through and we're going to have set this expectation with your customer that this is kind of how you do business. And so if you can extrapolate that to 90, 95% of your customer base, all of a sudden your time savings and your stress savings when it comes to AR just through the roof. And not to mention, we're going to really make a big impact on cash flow as well, because we're going to be processing those dollars on the day that the invoice is being created, in most of those cases. So, the impacts of this and the upfront work is relatively small when you consider like the really outsized impact it can have.
Yeah, I would very much agree. I think it's and what do you guys typically, I know that you've kind of worked with MSPs of all sizes. What do you typically see the main problems being when it comes to billing and not, because cash flow is king. I've said it 1,000 times in my YouTube videos. Cash is the lifeblood of every business, and it's more important than ever in the MSP world because it is rare that we get these giant lump sums. Like there's always project work to be done. There's no doubt about that. But in the grand scheme of things, it's pretty rare that we're just gonna hit out and even then, right? To take it even one step further, believe it or not, most MSPs that do giant project work typically aren't even that profitable because they don't really understand how to build out a project and actually make it profitable and account for the amount of hours that's actually going into it. And it's death by 1,000 cuts. You forget patch cables, you forget power cords, you forget just the stupidest little things that, depending on the size of the project, and it doesn't have to, big project could be 5,000 to some people and 25,000 to some people, but there's so many things that go under the radar. So even if you think that you're doing the right thing, you're like, I'm doing all this project work, you might not be making the amount of money that you could be making. And in the MSP business model, which is ironically one of our most successful YouTube videos, the whole point of being in business as an MSP is so you can proactively provide service to your clients to help them remain secure and be efficient and all that kind of stuff. So you have to do that. That's part of your job. It's part of what they're paying you to do. And in return, you get paid every single month because I think we would all much prefer to get a paycheck every single month than a lump sum here and a lump sum there. And you don't know when the next time a project's coming around.
Absolutely. I mean, in my view, because I'm in a really unique perspective where I get to see many different MSPs and get a kind of peek behind the curtain, I consider the gold standard and like the North Star of like an excellent MSP partner is someone who's built a relationship with a business and earned their trust and is seen by that business as essentially their IT guy. And like there is important in that sentence, like a sense of ownership and a sense of like real trust
Oh, I
and
like
saying,
that sense
oh,
of ownership.
yeah, where it's like this is the person who's responsible for my IT, of my business, and I trust them, and I have this, agreement with them, and I don't want to leave them ever because they're my guy. And so when you have that kind of relationship with someone, you don't worry about churn because you don't have churn. It's like the rarest of cases because you have that kind of consultative, kind of expert level relationship. Now, we end up in the same position. And you asked earlier, like, what are common things that MSPs are coming to us with when it comes to problems and pain points. And I'd say, it's really common for folks to have, these kind of older legacy systems that they're using to process payments. And these legacy systems don't play very nicely with their integrations. And so they cause kind of issues with QuickBooks syncing or other accounting software's tools. They aren't actually doing the processing. It's some other company that this person partners with that does the processing. And so they're not able to do things like passing on credit card fees, which in 2025 is now just kind of the industry standard. And if you're eating credit card fees right now, like
You're
that's
leaving money all over the table.
that's quite ridiculous. And now I can totally understand the pushback that says, oh, well, I don't want to nickel and dime my customers. Like it seems a little crazy to charge them for that. Totally understand. That's why our whole model and our whole focus is on presenting options. And so whenever you're in our kind of guest checkout flow, you're going to see ACH bank account, no fee, never will be, all included on both ends. If you want to pay by credit card, most of the time because you're trying to collect some rewards, that's fine. But I need you to take on that fee because it's not fair for me to basically like help you get reward points or to take on this
Yeah,
extra.
let the Fortune 500 companies pay the rewards. Don't hit it
Exactly.
with a small business owner.
Exactly. And so you present both those options so that you're not kind of nickel and diming them or force them in one direction or the other. You're incentivizing them towards the thing that you want anyway, which is the ACH, because it's a, kind of easier, smoother flow. And so customers that are, currently eating those credit card fees, working with these older processors from these kind of legacy MSP processing systems, those are the folks that get the most value out of moving towards a system like ours because they're going to increase their cash flow. They're going to wipe out that 30K a year or 40K a year of credit card processing fees they're eating, and they're going to simplify the flow in general, which their customers appreciate. Because at the end of the day, remember, if a customer goes onto a portal and it's clunky or asks them for a bunch of information they don't have, they're not going to use it. They're going to pull out a checkbook. And my goodness, are you ever going to have a hard time convincing them not to pay by check in the future? And you're just going to have to deal with that probably for a long time. It's at
Dude,
the
I have a
very,
customer that pays me, a legacy customer, by check, and it's like I love him to death, but I'm just like, I honestly, I'd rather just take the 3% hit because I just like then I have to open, and it's very mundane stuff. But I'm like, now I have to open up the app, and then I have to scan in I have to scan in the check, and then I can't throw the check away until I know the check clears, and then if the check doesn't clear, then I'm out of luck, and then I have to deal with more garbage, and it's just like it's just a no, it's really it's just more of an annoyance than anything else. It is really what it comes down to. It's nothing more and nothing less than that. And um
it's time. It's time that you have.
it's just time. And then it's another thing in the day. And for anyone that thinks I don't do anything all day, I do a lot of things all day, and it's mainly for our membership to make it the most elite membership possible. But like, I just don't even want to have to, it's funny because I used to think like Mark Zuckerberg, right? He's like, I wears the same gray shirt every day. And now I'm like, I just want the same gray shirt every day. I don't want to make this many decisions. And it's just so comical because now I really get it. And if you can remove that one thing off your plate, even that one thing, but if you start getting the right tools that remove one thing, sure enough, before you even realize it, you're going to have many things removed from your plate. And all of a sudden, you're going to have your most valuable asset, which is time.
Well said. Very well said. Yeah, and I think that that covers many different aspects. That idea of time and losing time, not being able to get it back. If you're able to simplify these systems, make them repeatable and trustworthy, like you open up more of your plate to be able to take on new customers and actually go out and do that kind of outgoing sales that we talked about earlier, where you
100%.
you can be that genuine person that's looking to help and build that great relationship, which will turn into that long-term partnership down the line. That's
100%.
cool, right? It's like, let's automate, simplify every process in your business that we can so that you can spend your time doing the things that can never be automated. And, as much as you want, like AI is not going to automate you picking up the phone and meeting a new business owner and learning about what they need help with and how you can help them. Like that's always going to be
Yeah.
you, should always be you. And people like Harrison and that community are going to be able to help you kind of learn the tricks to be able to get more comfortable doing it. But like that's the place to put your time. That's the place to focus.
100%. It's probably my number one thing I hear is I don't have the time to do it. It's like, okay, well, then get the right tools, right? You either have a lot of time or you have a lot of money, hopefully, right? If you have a lot of time, then you probably don't have a lot of money. If you have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of time. So hopefully, if you have a lot of money, you can buy back some of your time. Or if you have a lot of time and you don't have a lot of money, then you should be focusing 100% of your efforts on client acquisition and then getting the right tools. And whatever the right tools is, I'm not going to sit here and say you need to go get alternative payments today, right? But if it is right for you, then I would highly recommend getting it, right? And of course, using my affiliate link. But truthfully, and I say that jokingly, but find the tools that are going to make your life easier because I think a lot of people are so stuck on that shiny object syndrome. Oh my God, I got to get this tool. Oh my God, I got to get this tool. Trust me. I've been there. I still love all the shiny objects, probably too much still, and I think everyone in the tech world is in that boat. But those shiny objects are going to distract you from the things that move the needle, right? And I try to tell people this all the time. Think about why you went in business, right? You didn't like your boss. You wanted to make more money. You didn't like a job, right? You thought you could do it better on your own. There's not that many reasons why most people start a business, right? They want the freedom and the lifestyle that comes with owning a business, and all of them are wildly acceptable and very right answers. There's no right or wrong answer. But what's really important is to make sure that we do take a step back and we use the right tools that are going to have the impact on our business. And that could be a different RMM or a PSA tool. And if it's been some time since you've last looked at them, maybe it's time you check them out. And if you're like, no, I just I'm pretty set with that. I guarantee you, if you did some soul searching in your business, there's plenty of opportunities to make more money, get your time back, and be even more successful than you already are.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, and I mean, there are so many tools right now. That is part of the problem of this space is that it can be overwhelming to know what is worth it and what is not. And I think when it comes to that, that's where being a part of peer groups and where you can get feedback from people that you trust. One of the things that's really common in our space is someone will say, I don't really know who you guys are. I don't know if you're telling the truth. Like, can I talk to one of your partners? And I
Send them
think
this
that's
podcast.
great because, what better way for us to really prove our value is than us showing a potential partner and introducing them to one of our current partners? Because that current partner has no incentive to speak well to us, right? They have every incentive in the world to make sure they have a good reputation in the space. And so those people can honestly say, well, this is my experience with alternative payments. This is where they shone. This is where they really shine through. This is where I thought they missed the mark, and this is what I'm really excited about that they said that they're going to do, in the product roadmap. Like all those things are so great, and you can recreate that through these different community groups and kind of these online things. I always love to follow the r/MSP Reddit community. I get a lot of value out of that about kind of trying to get myself inside the perspective and mindset of a given MSP and what they're focusing on right now. There's so many conversations about AI, but it's the Reddit thread where guys actually talk about how they're actually using AI that really give value and give insight to me versus, the keynote speech at a given conference talking about AI in the broadest terms possible.
It's
And
funny you mentioned that. Shameless plug for ScaleCon. I was asked directly by somebody to do my speech this year about AI and how MSPs can use AI. So I have a ton of experience in AI, but I am worried about how I'm going to present AI on a actual presentation. I feel like it's much easier to talk about sales and marketing than it is to be like, oh, here's a screenshot of AI. So I got to figure that one out still, but it'll be fun.
dude, I like that. We might have to circle back and do another YouTube video on that because I have lots of opinions on AI and sales, and I'm not anti AI, but I am very concerned about some of the young people I see entering kind of the sales role, either as a salesperson or as like a side role because they're a business owner and they have to wear 1,000 hats.
Sure.
And the reliance on AI at the very start of that journey is really hurting these folks develop certain skills that I think you need to kind of earn in a different way.
Yeah, I would. That is
Anyway,
definitely a whole
but big
podcast for
digress.
another day. But I could definitely agree with a lot of what you just said with 100% confidence.
Excited to see your ScaleCon thing. When is that going to happen?
That makes one of us. ScaleCon is because I mean I'm not a public speaker. I'm a YouTuber, I guess, in a weird way. But September 25th to the 27th, if I remember correctly, are the dates. Hey, and if you do buy a ticket and you go there, one, I'll be there. You can take a picture with me if you want. And I'll come say hi, come shake my hand. I love meeting people. But two, go
He's
tell
in person than you think.
what happened.
I said you're more bald in person than you'd expect.
I got back from my vacation and my hair was a little grown. I go, damn, I have a lot of grays. It's a good thing I keep it high and tight. Um, but
Totally
let
nice.
them know that hey, you heard it from the podcast, from our the podcast, YouTube, whatever you want to call it. But I sent you over there. It would mean a lot to me just because I think that they like to hear that too, and I like to also hear, like, I like to hear from feedback from them. Hey, by the way, thanks for bringing people in, and I wouldn't and I truly I wouldn't say it if I didn't think it was worth going to. If it was like a, hey, hush hush, I'm just gonna go do it because I'm getting paid for it or whatever it is, it'd be one thing. But I really enjoy ScalCon. It's a great group of people, and it's a really everyone there is eager to grow and to learn and to help each other build a business.
They have a great reputation, and it's a great compliment to you that they invited you to come out this year. So congrats, Harrison.
Yeah, year two in a row. I did good the first year, allegedly. That's what I heard. I'm very nervous for year number two, but you know what? We're gonna go out there and do the thing, whatever
Amen.
whatever that is. So, Nicholas, tell people this has been great. This is a lot of fun. Is there any last final thoughts you have while we're on it, and if not, feel free to tell people where to find you, how they're gonna find you, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so Nicholas from Alternative Payments, you can email me at nicholas@alternativepayments.io. Harrison has a partnership with us and has a unique link that drives to my calendar. And so if you want to set up time to meet with me to learn more about our product, just click that link and follow up there. Would love to chat with you about your systems. It doesn't have to be a hard sell. It can even just be an opportunity for us to show you what we're doing in the space, be more consultative versus trying to push you to get onto our system. I'm a nice guy, as you can tell. Love to chat, love to meet people in that space. So, don't be hesitant to reach out. You can also use our website to learn more about us. We've got a lot of great resources on there. And yeah, we're doing our very best to be by far and away the best accounts receivable payment processor in the MSP space. And I think we're well on our way to doing it. So, yeah.
I would agree. And by the way, for anyone listening, I can't lie about this. In order to get my affiliate link, I had to become a paying subscriber. I have no idea if people are going to use it to buy or not going to buy, right? Actually, statistically, most people don't even use my links. I bought because I genuinely believe in the company, what they do, how they do it, and the impact they can have on MSP. So I just want to make sure that that is fully clear for anybody watching, listening, anything like that. This is not a, hey, if you use my link, I will forever be grateful for you using my link. But I didn't just say, hey, can I, I did ask for a link originally because I did like the program. I thought it was really, really cool. But I have taken the next level of commitment to becoming a paid customer of theirs to actually go get this link. I didn't have to do that. I could have saved the money every single month and just still recommended them. And I've recommended them. I actually just went through today. I've recommended you guys on three totally separate videos over the last year without making a dollar from you. You guys have never paid me a single penny, right? That is my belief in the company. I don't know if that means anything to everybody, but just so somebody's like, oh, he's just chilling it out to be that, a YouTuber. No, this is as real as it gets. I am a full paying customer of theirs. I have no problem admitting it. My onboarding call was literally this morning. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, actually in Nebraska, and then I said, hey, we'll do a couple videos to follow this. And there's going to be a full back behind the scenes tutorial and demo for our membership as well in the very near future. So, but I didn't need to do any of this. Like I said, I'm not getting paid for this. I am the payer to them. But I think that is how much I believe in the company, and I like the company. I like the product, and I like the people. So
And I don't mind you too much either, Harrison. I like No, I'm a big fan of Harrison. Harrison's great. And I think Harrison represents this like really cool, fresh take on something that I think has been existing in the space for a long, long, long time, which is people, products, services, and different things to try to help MSPs, navigate their sales and marketing journeys. And a lot of it is just not very good, or it's just kind of a clear money grab. Harrison's got a very fresh take. I really appreciate how well read he is kind of on the kind of space as a whole and the latest developments. And I really think that what they have going on over in the MSP Hero group as a community is genuinely like pretty special. Those guys are having a good time. They really enjoy it. They get a lot of value out of it. And so would definitely encourage you guys to check it out. It's certainly something that I've been enjoying a lot. And we want to partner with groups like this and others in the space that have great reputations so that we can kind of find these great win-win-wins.
dude, appreciate you, man. Those
Of
are some
course.
kind words. Nicholas, until next time, I'll see you. Maybe I'll see you in September.
Sounds good, Harrison. Study up.
Brother.